All right, welcome to The Explainer. So, you've probably played around with tools like ChatGPT, right? But have you ever stopped to wonder how they actually, well, work? That's what we're going to do today. We're diving deep into the tech that makes it all possible, the large language model, or what you'll hear called an LLM. I mean, it really does feel like magic, right? You type in a question, and poof, out comes this incredibly smart, human-sounding answer. But what's really going on behind the scenes? Well, it's not magic, but it is absolutely fascinating, and we're going to break it all down step by step. Okay, so let's start with the absolute basics. What exactly is the brain powering this whole new wave of AI? So, a large language model, an LLM, is basically a type of artificial intelligence that's been trained to do one thing incredibly well: master human language. We're not just talking about understanding text. We're talking about communicating, reasoning, and even creating brand new things with it. You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think about the autocomplete on your phone, right? It tries to guess the next word you're going to type. Well, an LLM is like that, but on steroids. It's not just predicting the next word. It's predicting the next sentence, the next paragraph, sometimes even the next big idea. It's the same core concept, just on a scale that's almost impossible to imagine. Okay, so we've got a handle on what they are, but how in the world do they go from, a blank slate to being able to write a poem or debug computer code? That journey from just raw data to a real conversation, that's where things get really interesting. It really comes down to a three-step process. First, the model basically reads a mind-boggling amount of text. Think of it like it's speed reading a huge chunk of the internet. Now, this is the important part. It doesn't memorize it. Instead, it learns the patterns, how words and ideas connect. And then finally, when you ask it something, it uses all those learned patterns to predict the most probable next word. And then the next one, and the one after that, building its answer one word at a time. And this right here is the absolute key. You have to understand that an LLM is not just a giant search engine or a database spitting back things it's read before. No, it's a pattern recognition machine. Because it understands the deep connections in language, it can create totally new sentences that still follow all the rules it's learned. So we keep using this word large, a large language model. But what does large actually mean here? It's not just about how much data it reads, it's about the size of the model's, well, its brain. Get ready for this. 175 billion. That's not a typo. That's the number of parameters in just one model, GPT-3. That insane number, that's the L in LLM. So, okay, what on earth is a parameter? Okay, so these parameters, they're everything. The best way to picture them is like billions of tiny little knobs or switches inside the AI's brain. And as the model trains, every single one of those knobs gets adjusted again and again and again to fine-tune its ability to make the right connections. The more knobs you have, the more subtle and complex and, human-like the text can be. And look, this isn't just some sci-fi concept. This technology is already out in the world, making a huge impact. So let's talk about how LLMs are actually being used right now. I mean, the list of what these things can do is it's incredible. And it feels like it's growing every single day. We're talking everything from creative stuff like writing stories and poems to super technical tasks like finding bugs in computer code. They're basically becoming these powerhouse tools for pretty much any job you can do on a computer. And this change is spreading across all sorts of industries. In education, they can be like a personal tutor for every student. In business, they're completely changing customer service and marketing. Even in really specialized fields like medicine and software engineering, they're becoming these amazing assistants that can just accelerate everything. But, and this is a really big but, this technology is nowhere near perfect. Just like any super powerful tool, we absolutely have to talk about the downsides, the limitations, and the very real risks. Right now, the people building these things are wrestling with some major challenges. First up is bias. If an LLM learns from the internet, well, it's gonna learn all the biases that are out there too. Then there's this weird thing called hallucinations. That's when the AI just confidently makes stuff up that's totally false. And on top of all that, you have to consider the massive cost, the privacy concerns with the data, and the huge amount of energy it takes to train one of these things. Now, the good news here is that these aren't secrets. The researchers and companies behind this technology know about these problems, and they're working around the clock to try and fix them, to reduce bias, to stop the hallucinations, and to build models that are safer and more efficient. It's a huge work in progress. So, what's next? Where is all this headed? I mean, the speed of development is just mind-blowing. Let's take a peek at what might be coming just around the corner. What's really interesting is that the future isn't just about making them bigger and bigger. Actually, a lot of the focus is on making them smaller and more efficient, smart enough to run right on your phone. We're also seeing the start of multimodal models, which means they won't just understand text, but images, sound, and video too. And maybe the biggest game changer of all? AI agents. These are models that don't just give you an answer, they can actually do things for you. So, there it is, a technology that's almost unbelievably powerful, all starting from that simple idea of just predicting the next word. But as we've seen, it also comes with some really serious challenges. And that leaves us with the big question, the one we all have to think about as this tech becomes a bigger part of our world. Will the amazing things it can do ultimately outweigh the risks?